You want to say anything to anybody?
Hello.
And I grew up in a time when unions, we were born at a time when unions had some power.
Definitely.
And we saw the decline of the union, because what happens is, as times became pretty good, people were like, what am I paying union dues for? Right?
That's a good point. Isn't it something like,
well, you remember the movie Oliver Twist, right? When the little boy goes up, please, sir, may I have more?
Yeah, that was pre-union. Yeah. And even in this country, people don't know a lot of people don't know the history unless you're a certain age. Prior to unions, factories.
You were a slave.
You were a slave. Factories could do with you whatever they wanted. You worked literally 16-hour days. There were no labor laws. If you, severed a finger, cut your hand off, whatever, there was absolutely no recourse. It was like, get out. I don't need you. And oh, by the way, because you lived on the company compound or whatever you want to call it, on the way out, it was like, oh, you owe the general store, by the way, pay that bill too. So, and they paid them just enough, or so low that a lot of times they had to run a tab up with the company store. So the company was making money off them that way too, for the basic, daily living things, right? Food, whatever, right? And so, and people, that's why unions essentially came into play. The AFL-CIO around.
Yeah. Do you think that was an easy fight, getting unions?
Absolutely not. And in those early days, there was a ton of violence.
Union members today, or people who aren't, do you think people even appreciate the sacrifice that was made to get unions in place?
Apparently not, the way that they're letting it go and stuff like that, and the way they've allowed themselves to be totally defanged. Because in the early days of the union, and I know a lot about it because I got a scholarship, AFL-CIO scholarship, for $3 or $4 grand back in the day to go to college. I had to read a book about 3 inches thick. There was a lot of fighting, and it got physical too, and people were killed. Okay, management was not a walk in the park and a breeze. Okay, they would sick the goons out on the workers, and these goons were not there to, shall we say, pontificate and use nice vernacular.
Does that sound familiar?
Yeah.
What's going on today?
Yeah. So
today they're called the police.
Yeah. So those goons would go out there and they would beat the what out of the workers, and some of these guys would get killed. They'd have clubs. They'd be beating them in the head. Total violence. Guys would get broken bones. I mean, that's the type of fighting that was going on, and a lot of people don't know that. Okay, we know that because we're at a certain age. But I guarantee most people 40 years old or younger, they have no clue about that. And so they don't even know where the 8-hour day came from, the OSHA standards and regulations and all that, right? That employers have to have in place. Because if this stuff wasn't fought for back in the day,
everything was hard fought for.
Right.
Nothing.
Exactly.
They didn't come to you and say, man, would you like to work 8 hours instead of 16?
Spot
and
on.
get paid the same money.
Spot on, amigo. Yeah. None of that was like, hey, out of the magnanimity of our heart. No, that stuff was like hard. And I mean, fought for at times, literally, not just figuratively. Okay, guys getting broken noses, teeth knocked out. It was that bad. Okay, and a lot of Americans, right? So it really.
And there were plenty of people, who played the part of the goon.
Yeah, 100%.
The goon did as they were told.
100%.
And the goon will do as they're told today.
Spot on. And the difference is the goon is even bigger and stronger, which is scary.
Well, they're the law now. The goon was just a goon before.
Yeah. So it pisses me off now when you got all these people. 10 million plus, they don't want to work, right? And in the history of our country, the age, I told my son this actually 2 or 3 days ago, and he's like, really? Between the ages of like 18 and 45 or 50, something like that, we have the biggest male population ever in the history of this country that flat out does not work because they don't want to work. So they get by on different ways. They just hang out all day, relax, watch TV, go fishing, whatever, and live off government, whatever, things here and there.
Live long and prosper.